Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be presenting to you on Revelations chapter 5, verse 3 through 14. And so first I just wanted to give you a little bit about the context and the background of Revelation as a whole and specifically the events taking place in chapter 5. First thing you need to know is that Revelation is an apocalyptic book. And the very indication that it is an apocalyptic book is it's concerned with the eschaton, which is the last things, the things that are to come. And so the fact that it is this type of book, there's going to be a difference in the language, the structure, the focus than you will see in other books throughout the Bible. Part of the differences in how it compares to other books is that this book compared to the Old Testament, where the Old Testament's focus is on the present life and what is happening right then. Whereas in Revelation, you are seeing what is to come. And so throughout this book, you're going to see an evil that is taking place. But ultimately, you're going to see an evil that is overcome by good, and that good is God, who is going to bring judgment on the earth. And now concerning chapter 5 specifically, the focus here is on the Lamb and the scrolls. And then one of my cohorts who did chapter 4, their focus there is on the throne. And so when you get to chapter 5, you are seeing what John is now seeing happening at the front of the throne and what he is seeing there. And you also will see in chapter 5 the Lamb who is worthy. Then he opens the scrolls and what is inside of those scrolls and the seals, which will continue into chapter 6. But one thing to keep in mind, actually two things, is the two significant elements of chapter 5 is the emphasis on the Lamb and emphasis on the scrolls with the seals. These scrolls contains the judgments that are going to come to pass on the earth. And the only one worthy to open and break these seals is this Lamb. So that's a very, very big part there. And John uses significant language here and throughout many of his other writings in the usage of the word lamb to convey the Lord. And you can see that in various Old Testament references, and such as in this chapter, you see a reference to the Lion of the tribe of Judah and the root of David, which takes us all the way back to, David's family line and all of those prophecies of the Messiah and all of that coming to pass here in this time. And not only that, we see through this emphasis in this language of describing the Lord as this Lion of the tribe of Judah, as the root of David, as the Lamb. We're seeing his meekness, his gentleness, yet at the same time, his power like a lion, his power to overcome, and that he will be the one to overcome in the last days. And ultimately, at the end of the chapter, we're getting a picture of what will happen in the last days of everyone who's going to end up praising him and worshiping him. He is ultimately going to be the one who's glorified in the end. And so before I get into the performance of this passage, my cohort has gone, even though I'm focusing on chapter 5, they have gone to chapter 5, verse 2. So I will begin with verse 3. And I began to weep bitterly, because no one was worthy to open the scrolls and read them. But then one of the elders, he said to me, "Stop weeping. Look, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, he's won the victory. He's worthy to open and read the scrolls." And then I looked, and I saw a lamb. But the lamb looked as if it had been slain. But now it was standing at the throne, and the 4 living beings and the 24 elders, they were all at the throne, but it had 7 horns and 7 eyes. And he stepped forward and took the scroll. And the 4 living beings and all of the elders, they fell before the Lamb, each with a harp and golden bowls of incense. But these were the prayers of God's people. Then they began to sing a new song. Worthy are you to take the scrolls and open its seals, for you were slain, and by your blood you ransomed for God, for the language and people and nation, and you have made us kingdom of priests for our God, and they shall reign on the earth. And then I began to hear voices, millions and thousands of voices of angels all around, and the beings and the creatures, and they began to sing, worthy is the Lamb who was slain to receive power and wealth and wisdom and might and honor and glory and blessing. And then I heard every creature, all in the earth and under the earth and in the sea, and they began to sing. To him who sits on the throne, to the Lamb be blessing and honor and glory, might forever and ever. And the four living beings began to say, Amen, amen, amen. And they fell, the beings and the elders, they fell before the Lamb and worshiped him. And so you can see here a depiction of what John is seeing throughout this passage. And we were asked to answer 4 questions as kind of a reflection piece about this passage. And the first question was, in what ways did this assignment and others utilize and further develop a oneness Pentecostal hermeneutic? Well, in this passage, the declaration of a one God is emphasized, because we are seeing the questioning and the doubt that, who do we have that can open these scrolls and bring the judgments on this earth that are going to come to pass. And the only one that they say is this Lamb. He's worthy. He is the only one. So we are there given a stronger sense of a one God, a focus on there's only one God who can bring this judgment to pass, which strengthens our Pentecostal hermeneutic as oneness Pentecostal hermeneutic, because we have this focus of a lamb, and it also focuses on the power and the characteristics of this lamb and the God that we serve. And number 2, how does this passage celebrate the God who's described uniquely in the Old Testament and who became permanently incarnate in Jesus? There's a lot of specific references in this passage, such as the Lion of the tribe of Judah and the root of David, which takes you back to the Old Testament. But not only this, the language that John uses is very specific to certain references he makes, such as if you think of Isaiah 53, where it says, brought as a lamb to the slaughter. We see that same imagery of Jesus, who was incarnate, and Jesus depicted as a lamb, which represents, because when he sees the lamb, he sees a slain lamb. But he is also sitting at the throne, which gives us a depiction of Jesus, who he's referring to, who made that sacrifice and who was slain for us. And so number 3 is, how do you understand the working of the Spirit in the biblical text as normative today? Well, throughout Revelation is such rich in imagery, and it's so symbolic of what the Spirit was working in John at the time, because all of these things were being revealed to him. And it showed, for me personally, it just shows that much more in the biblical text how the Spirit was working in him and giving him these visions of, this is what's going to happen, this is what you're going to see. And the Spirit of the Lord was working in him. And that translates to us today, because we have many people who, at different times, the Lord may give you a vision or give you a dream, and that is the Spirit leading you. And we trust that God is leading us, and that we can trust in his word, and that the Spirit is guiding that in every step we take today. And number 4, given your text connections with the Old Testament, how does this passage privilege the beliefs and practices of the New Testament? Well, as I said kind of in the beginning, the Old Testament has a focus of the present life and the present time, whereas the New Testament is focusing on what is to come. And so the beliefs and practice of the New Testament is that future of declaring the Messiah that is to come, who's coming back. And we see that also in Revelation, which is the eschaton, and this is what all is going to happen in the end. But we are seeing a declaration of, God who is coming back. This is a focus on a God who is going to bring that eternal salvation. And so thank you for your time today. I hope you enjoyed it, and God bless you all.